Okay, welcome to Dow Stock Talk, where I talk about topics relating to investing in finance, but more specifically, the stock market. Now, in this video, we'll be going over the platform called Republic. I went over this platform several times, but they had a new feature. Normally, they do startups. They mainly do startups. They expanded to real estate, video games, crypto, and all of that. If you want to see a more in-depth video of Republic, make sure you check out my suggested videos. I also did one on their video game component as well, so you can also check that out. And last but not least, if you want to see my Republic portfolio, you can just check that out. And by the way, they also, if you're looking into music royalties, I also have a video of that as well. But now I received an email from Republic saying now they will allow you to invest in small businesses. Now this one, it's more, to me, it's more like a loan or slash royalty, what they call it revenue sharing. I'll go into that in detail a little bit later, but these are some of the small businesses that you can invest in their platform. So when you end up clicking explore debt investments in Main Street businesses, what we can do is when you click that, you'll end up seeing this. And by the way, I have a headache, so I might not have the full amount of energy, but the show must go on. But make sure you smash that like button because it helps the YouTube algorithm. It helps YouTube know this is quality content and help my videos reach a broader audience. So invest in local businesses. So as you can see, they already have it. Build your community, diversify your portfolio. You will receive payments regularly, and you can invest in your own backyard. So they're just starting this. I'm assuming that the more time goes on, the more businesses they end up having. But let's just scroll down. It says 2 new ways. They call revenue share notes, which pretty much it says the business agrees to pay a set percentage of their monthly revenue and to receive the total repayment amount. So the revenue sharing note, which pretty much allows you to get a certain percentage of their revenue until you reach a certain amount. I'll explain that into more detail. In the term notes, it's more like a fixed interest, like your standard loan. Once you click the Happy Tummy Asian, so they're pretty much an Asian takeout meal delivery. So all you have to do, they'll deliver it, and all you have to do is kind of warm it up. Let's hit play a little while. Everything. But I just wanted to give you an idea of how it ended up working. So it's a healthy Asian meal prep that you can end up doing. They deliver it to you. But I just wanted to give you an idea of this particular local business. As we scroll down, as you can see the investment multiple. So that is 1.5x. That's more like 50%. So 2x would be 100%. 1.5 would be 50%. So as we can scroll down, and this is the key thing you want to pay attention to. So 5% of their revenue will be paid to you until you get your investment, and 50%. The higher their revenue and the more sales they get, the faster you get paid off. And they have to do it within a 54-month period. So after the 54 months, then they're obligated to pay you your initial investment and the 50% or the remaining amount they have to go. But if the company does really well and their revenue is growing, you can get your returns much faster. So ideally, you would want their revenue to grow fast so that you can get a higher annual percentage return. So let's end up scrolling down. They have different amounts you can end up investing in, different perks. They tell you a little bit about it. Let's kind of scroll down. Pretty much they're letting you know that all that food is healthy, all the things that it doesn't contain. Scroll down. Order freshly made, delivered to you, ready to heat. I like that. It's pretty simple, straightforward. And they're just letting you know the average customer retention for 2021 is 61%. And they pretty much have hundreds of people on the waiting list. And they're just kind of giving you a little bit more information about it. 61% rebuy rate, that's pretty good from each customer. They only spend up to $26 and the average order $62. So if we can scroll down a little bit, and they tell you a little bit more about the company. But I really just wanted to go over their new feature, and this is their particular goal, what we have done, and it shows you what they're trying to reach. So by 2025, they end up trying to do 14 million. Let's scroll down some more. I'll give you an example. So if you was to invest $100, by the time the end of the period of 54 months, they will owe you 150, because I said 50%. Or you would get it the amount much earlier if the 5% of the revenue gets up to 150 first. You have other businesses as well. These work more like the traditional one, where you end up getting a share or an interest of agreement, which means like if this company was purchased or sold, then you can be able to get the stock price much cheaper at like a particular discount. But this one was the only one that I've seen right now that had the investment multiple that kind of works like a loan. Okay, I don't know how this is going to turn out, but this is an add-on. Give you a little bit more information. By the way, this term notes is coming soon, but to give you a little bit more understanding of how the revenue sharing note works, we can just click learn more about revenue sharing note. So this one, because this process is a lot of stuff is going on, I figured that I should probably go over this process. But also they have a platform called Mainvest, which is similar, and I kind of go over it step by step. They have more visual images. If you want, you can check that out in the suggested video. So we go revenue sharing notes, but we end up going down. So it says, what is revenue sharing? Revenue sharing is a loan arrangement where borrowers tie their repayment to the amount of revenue that their business generates over time. So you're pretty much paying back a fixed amount based off of your revenue. The time period in which you would end up paying a loan strictly based on your revenue. Now, there is a timeline at the end of the period where the amount that you agreed upon, you will have to pay that back. But hopefully, if your business ends up growing, that way you'll be able to pay it back way before that. So it gives the business flexibility, especially if it's a seasonal business. So let's end up scrolling down. We already talked about it. We have the lender and the borrower. The investor would be the lender, and then the small business would be the borrower. And then we keep the key terms to know. There's a maturity date. So after that maturity date, you're obligated to pay ever the amount you agreed upon. And a lot of times I'll go over the exact amount, but a lot of times that I've seen it would be like 1.5x. So just know 1.5x is 50%, 2x would be 100%. So a lot of times from my personal experience, I've seen the 1.5 and that's 50%. And a lot of times as far as the time period, it's like maybe like 60 months or like 5 years or so. All right, so let's just end up scrolling down, and it gave you a hypothetical situation. There's a lot going on here, so I'll try to take it nice and slow, simple as possible. It says you invest $1,000 in revenue sharing offered by Republic. So now, remember I said investment multiple 2x? So that would pretty much be equivalent to 100%. So that would mean that at the end of the day, that $1,000 you would have to pay $2,000, and that would be the full amount of you will owe the investor. So once you got to that $2,000, that means you pretty much paid your obligation, and that's with the 2x multiple. Now let's go to the second component. So you would only be paying 5% of your revenue until you got to that 2x. So that really depends on how fast you pay it off. It's depending on how your sales is doing. So the maturity date would be 48 months, would be in 4 years. So the investor would get the 100% return by the maturity date, which would be 4 years. So they would get 100%. So the investor, they'll put in 1,000, and by the time this maturity date ends, they would get 2,000. So they just showed you some brief calculations. So suppose the total amount raised is $100,000 and you invested $1,000. And this is a very realistic perspective. So you raised $100,000, yeah, 1K. So you received 1% of the total that the business make to all investors. Receive 1% of the total payment a business will make to all investors. You have 1%, because 1% of 100,000 is 1,000. So you would get 1% of the total payment that's for investors. So let's end up scrolling down. So this is a breakdown. So just say month 1, the gross revenue that's pretty much sales. So 5% of that, since you had no sales, would be 0. Now month 2, let's say you get $200,000 of sales, 5% of that, so 10,000 will go to all investors. So the sales for 300,000, 5% of that, 15,000 will be distributed to all investors. And like I said, it's only 5% of the revenue is being distributed to all investors. So in your case, for individual one, this is how much you would receive. So the first year, you would be, for example, 1%, you only get 1% of this total number. So 10,000, 1% of the $10,000. So you receive $100. Year 3, 15,000, 1% of that, 150. So that would end up occurring until you get to that $2,000. And at the end of this particular period, the investor will have $2,000 total. So they invested $1,000, but they would end up getting $2,000. And that was this in a nutshell. Now, once again, if the downside is if the business, goes out of business or something like that, then the investors will be out of luck. That's it for this video. Let me know what you think about Republic and investing in local business. If you haven't already, make sure you hit the like button. If you're new, make sure you subscribe to my channel.